All right. Hey, welcome to Metal King Studio. This is a pretty exciting moment. I'm here to show you the new Bone and Darkness, and I thought I'd start by showing the old Bone and Darkness. So Bone and Darkness was the first expansion to Relicblade. It is when I very first came up with this form factor of having these plastic blisters with 4 metal miniatures, 10 cards, and a special scenario. So I think this is a really cool moment to look at what these faction sets are, and then kind of why I created this new version now that we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Relicblade. So this first expansion includes these undead characters. We've got in this set 4 miniatures. When people open up a Relicblade faction set, what they find inside is a baggie with all of the metal bits and bases for the characters, a pack of cards. This is actually one of the very first edition Bone and Darkness sets, and it is sealed still, and inside there are black and white cards because back then I didn't even color the cards. And then this insert has, the product information on it, sort of like some legal information and content information. And so, taking advantage of as much space as I could get, I also include a special scenario and some new special rules, because this set actually introduced the construct. At the time, construct wasn't even in the rulebook. It was a new character type introduced with this expansion. I also got out here, these are the studio paint jobs that Malev did of the metal miniatures. We've got the Bone Stalker here, a Dark Watcher, and this was provided with an alternate arm, so it could either have a club or a bow to be built as a Watcher or Wanderer. There was a close combat or ranged version of this character. Second Bone Stalker, these are kind of fast, terrifying minions. And then the Bone Construct, a big metal guy, whole bunch of parts, very carefully assembled and sometimes delicately pinned to get it to actually assemble properly. So this set is the original metal. And then now, 10 years later, because I sculpted these in 2016, 10 years later, I have a new set to show you. This is the new adversary character set for Bone and Darkness. It is an exciting new box set, and I got to think about, because all of this is sold out. I still have the metal miniatures available, but the cards are gone. Like, I just have this archival set. I don't have any more of those available. So I had the chance to remaster this, and thinking about the excitement of 10 years and thinking about my dreams for what Relicblade could be, I decided to just go for it and make these new sets with this nice box set. And here is information about the contents. These new sets will come with 5 figures, and they are produced in hard plastic. It also includes a book and 10 cards. So let's crack this open and take a look at what's inside. All right, beautiful box. I love it. And look at this spooky guy on the side, so you can have it on your bookshelf. Okay, so I'm going to set aside the book for now. I'm going to dig through that in a minute. We have a poster, and that's to protect the book and cards from the hard plastic of the miniatures. We also have on the other side the assembly instructions so that, you know, it's not super complicated, but you'll know what number each piece is and how they go together. And then, perhaps the most exciting thing, a frame of hard plastic miniatures. So this is produced by Xfound or Ashway in China. I worked closely with the team of engineers there, and they were awesome. They did a really great job handling my sculpts and carefully laying out this frame and following my instructions to get the engineering just right to have a wonderful detail on these miniatures. And so in the set, you've got this frame of miniatures. You'll be able to clip them out and glue them together with plastic glue or super glue according to your taste. And I have here assembled versions of the figures. So here is one of the Bone Stalkers. I gave them a little bit more exciting action poses compared to the old metal ones because they are very fast on the table. They're probably the fastest characters other than characters that are on magic carpets. These are very quick. The heads and arms on these two figures are interchangeable, so you can do a little bit of customizing, but they're really designed as specific Relicblade characters in their poses and designs. Then we have the Dark Wanderer. Sorry, trying to get it in focus a little bit, but the Dark Wanderer is a melee-focused character, and one of the upgrades you can give them is a Murder of Crows. So one of the special optional bits that I included is this little flock of crows on his shoulder flying. Then we also have a Dark Watcher, which is the Dark Wanderer type of character profile. They're kind of like hybrid evil clerics, spellcasters, and this one is equipped with a bow. So we have a ranged focused or a melee focused darkness character. And then the Bone Construct. And so this is pretty fun, more of a dynamic pose, more sinister and dangerous. And the rules have also been reworked a bit on this character to make it a bit more viable on the table. But there it is next to its metal predecessor. One thing that was very exciting for me about the plastic manufacturing is that I can have the inside of the rib cage be hollow, give it kind of a spooky look to it. Love it. So 5 hard plastic miniatures. The color of this plastic's a little bit different because it's this was a prototype or one of the early, and this is a production frame. So it's a little bit different, but that won't matter. You're going to paint your miniatures, right? Now let's take a look at the card. So with the updated figures, I also revisited the rules. So you can see down here at 2026. And that is how we'll track the additions moving forward so that you'll always know if you have 2 cards, one without dates is old, and then ones with dates, whichever card has the most up-to-date or recent date is the most up-to-date version. We've got the Dark Wanderer. There's some rules updates on this character. The Dread Maul is now more powerful. We have also on the front of the card the alignment. So these are adversaries, which just means that they're evil. Previously, you'd just know from the card back, but having it on the front can be useful. Dread Bow. This used to be Longbow, which was only +3 damage. The Dread Bow does +5 damage, so it's become much more dangerous at range. Bone Stalkers saw a little bit of a rules change. If you want more information about the thoughts behind the rules updates, there is quite a very fun discussion on the latest episode of Relic Buds that you can also find here on YouTube. We've got a second Bone Stalker card. We've got one with a pig skull and one with a humanoid skull. So to kind of match the figures a little bit. These spooky mutated bone monsters. We've got the bone construct, and this guy has quite a few changes on his card to make him more viable and exciting on the tabletop. Got Black Shroud, a really great defensive spell. Bone Harvest, kind of an iconic Bone and Darkness card. Very important. Almost every Bone and Darkness warband takes this card, and it got a price decrease. So with that discount, it's going to be a little bit easier to get these guys on the table. Dark Machination saw a pretty major change. In previous editions, it could kind of like create a new bone stalker, but in this one now it heals, which is much more clean, makes more sense for campaign play, and then also actually as a major boon for the Darkness faction to have a way to heal or really more like repair their bone creatures. Mark of Violence is a weapon upgrade, and Murder of Crows is that sweet defensive tech that we even have available to model on your figure if you do take that upgrade. Now, the last thing I want to show you, because so far this is pretty similar to what you would have gotten in the metal set, but you know, I'm just a independent game designer here, and for years I've just been able to squeeze in the tiniest little lore snippets. So for a long time, these couple of sentences were pretty much the extent of the Darkness lore. Mysterious skull-faced villains stalk the wildlands. Okay. Dark wanderers are an evil unlike anything seen before. Yeah, because this is the first expansion, so it's definitely unlike anything we've seen before. They wield terrible bone magic. They've got rabid bone creatures. Have fun. Like, that's pretty much all I had room to say. And in some of the faction sets, I can add a little bit of lore in this section, but since we were introducing new rules, I didn't even have that much. So Bone and Darkness, lore-wise, was pretty limited just because of the realities of product design and what I can provide. And so when I was imagining my perfect evolution of what a Relicblade product could become, you know, plastic is a really, really well-loved material for those of us who build models. Like, I mean, such a wonderful part of the hobby is building model kits from these frames, and then also how durable they are, you know, how fun they are to paint, how customizable they are with cutting stuff off or adding new elements. They're very kind of the standard and most loved material. So as much as I love metal, plastic, of course, is great. I've been working with plastic for ages. But as I was thinking about what I really wanted, I really wanted to be able to provide more look into the world and provide what makes Relicblade so cool and unique. And, you know, I have a background in comic books. And so including these soft bound or these like, you know, paper comic book style books is such a fun opportunity for me. And look at this, like, just realistically, this introduction, it's just a note from me to you about what I'm making. This is more space than I ever had before to tell the story of what these characters are and the world that they live in. So we're diving into a very, very cool opportunity for me to share lore, story, give some of a background information about what Darkness is, where it came from, what it's doing in the world. And then also, you know, just these lavish, huge miniature photography of cool terrain. Malev's just wonderful paint jobs that have become such an iconic part of the Relicblade universe. And then also being able to share information about the characters. So each character now has an entry here that gives you lore background about the character type, some, you know, iconic characters of the realm, so various Dark Watchers that have been known across the Volglands, like Argon Goreface here, or Hitoshi, the ghost of Alfor. And Alfor are the islands where the severed hand is based. So there's just like little tiny nuggets and seeds and Easter eggs throughout about the world of Relicblade on a lore-centered page. And then on this page, we have the actual card with the rules, and then a tactical information where we talk about high level, how to play with this character, some thoughts about what might be challenging or what might be a good tactical use for this character and what to keep in mind. Maybe if there's a special rule that could use some extra explanation. But yeah, tactical information, for high level information. And we have that for each of the characters in the set: Bone Stalkers, Bone Construct, and then each of the upgrades. Again, like clarifying any special rules. So you may or may not know, depending on how recently you read the rulebook, that this ability here, for example, that can heal an ally, it is a special ability and there's no range marked on there. And it's because if there's no range, then it's just within your half-inch engagement range. So, just any little notes that I could think of that make it easier to play or things to keep in mind. And then also more information, because this is a look at the realms and, the domain of Bone and Darkness. We also have information about the new expansion, or the expansion characters that are out, like here, Lady Blackstone. And, there have been rumors about what Lady Blackstone did, but here now we have some more information. I also have a little, very small hobby section where we talk about what I keep in mind while I'm painting these characters. And at the end here, we have special scenarios. So where before I was able to put one little tiny scenario in there, now I can add more detail, a more complicated scenario. We've got Forgotten Shrines is the name of it. And then it has a head-to-head version and a co-op version available. So depending on how your friends like to play games, you can jump into a solo or co-op adventure or play the competitive head-to-head version, depending on, what you want. So we've got 2 cool scenarios in there available both as solo or head-to-head. And then also a little Easter egg here at the back is monster cards for the battle pigs, so that you can get a little more use. Because with this Bone and Darkness set available in plastic, I also have a plastic battle pig set that's coming out. So that is the Bone and Darkness adversary character set. So this box set in plastic is a really big milestone for me as a small company. Really exciting to be able to focus on a product that is, really celebrates what's special about Relicblade, between these great character models, wonderfully illustrated cards where I get to share the the visual illustrations of the world, the sculptures that you get to paint, and then even dive into some of the lore and adventures that relate to Bone and Darkness. So thanks for checking out this preview of the Bone and Darkness set. This will be coming out Friday, the 13th of March, 2026. So pretty soon it'll be available on my website, relicblade.com. And, it's a grim new dawn for Relicblade. So thanks for checking it out. Bye, guys.